Well, welcome everybody to the April 3rd, 2023 class board meeting. We've got 6 of us here in attendance. We have a couple that are missing, but I believe we do have a quorum if we had to do any voting on anything, which I don't believe is on the agenda for today. But I am Scott Olson, the co-president of class. And why don't we just quickly go around just with introductions, not for the sake of each other, but just for the recording purpose here. Allie.
Allie Lucan, Lionel Lakes, board member.
Chris.
Chris Sundberg, Executive Director of Elder Voice Advocates and Elder Care IQ and board member of class.
Lynn.
Lynn Ammon. I am the Wellness Program Coordinator at Ling Bloomston Community Services and class board member.
Katie.
Katie Everett, I'm the Recreation and Facilities Manager for the City of Vadnais Heights and class board member.
Kate.
Kate Gable, owner of Kate's Musical Memories and KG Freelance. I serve both as board member / secretary / freelance contractor for class.
Thank you, everybody. And now that we've been, I guess, officially introduced, we can move on here to our agenda. And Kate and John, thanks for getting that put together. Even though John isn't here, I'll thank him later. Just as a kind of a brief opening here, there's been a lot of things going on the last month or so, and we're getting more and more engaged with new people coming aboard. We've wrapped up our membership campaign, and we'll talk about that a little later in the meeting. But it was nice to see new faces on our networking event and our lunch and learn events. So that is a real positive. John and I also, we've got some, I guess the grant applications have been in. We don't have updates as to whether we've received them, and I'll go into that a little bit deeper on into the meeting. Is there anything in terms of housekeeping that anyone wants to bring up before we move into the next point of business here? Okay. Well, we're going to talk about the results of the completed membership drive. And Kate, I am actually going to rely on you a little bit for this. I know that we had what we felt was a very successful membership campaign, and I'll let you touch on that if you wouldn't mind.
Sure. So we were able to finish our drive, and we did have one instance where somebody who had set up their recurring membership charged them technically twice because they forgot that they signed up and then it auto renewed for them. So in future years as board members, if you guys are taking the lead or participating, we do have it set up on the class website that payments can be recurring, and then they will be given approval by the individual who has set that up. So thankfully we got a kind donation instead of a oopsie poopsie need to pay you back. It was really generous. And I believe that we put the number for our total. The membership drive total came to $1,101.42. And just as a reminder that we have the $25 membership for individuals, $100 for organizations, but some people will pay just the flat $25 and some will actually cover the processing cost of $1.27 that DonorBox applies. We've been able to get the website updated with everybody's information and feedback. We did have some people that have moved away or that we haven't heard from or have been disconnected. Our guess would be that people have either moved on in their careers or there have just been changes in organizations. So overall, our totals are staying relatively the same despite those changes, and we continue to have membership and engagement.
Thanks, Kate. And just an FYI for everybody, I forget if everybody was copied on this, but as we came to the end of the drive, John, Kate, and I had a meeting and talked about, let's make this official. We wanted to be courteous. We let John be the good cop. I became the bad cop at the end. And it was where we gave them a reminder. We appreciate you being around. Haven't heard from you. Wondering if you're still planning on maintaining your status as a member. And if not, here's a deadline for it. Well, when the deadline came, I sent out another email and in a nice way played the bad cop role that we're sorry, but as of 5 p.m. on that particular Friday, we will be removing you and with hopes that you can come back. So we just kind of left it really open-ended, but put some finality to it. And I think the best reason for that is that if we're trying to talk to new prospective members, we want them to feel like they are valued. And it's not just something where, yeah, you're 25, it gets you to become a member, but what does that member status mean? And by being selective to just, have a stopping point, I think that tells our members that we are serious and we do value them being aboard. So that was why we felt we would put that message out there.
Scott, I really endorse you're doing that. I think that makes a lot of sense. And if you said it already, I'm sorry if I missed it. So what's our current membership and how many drop-offs and how many new people did we get? Or were you going to go there?
I can give you specific names and numbers. All current members are on the website now. Just a moment, consortium. And under get involved, networking and members, we have, if I can do math quickly, 6, 7, 21, 22. I believe that it's 25 members on our membership page that we've received information from. And I will, Scott, I'm not currently logged into our Google Drive account, so I'll need to get in there if you want to.
Yeah,
speak
that's
to the other
okay.
parts.
And
Yeah,
that's, you
go
can
ahead,
get back.
Chris.
You can get back later. I just thought if you had it at your fingertips, but
Sure. And I think as Kate's kind of doing some looking there, I'm also going to mention that with the new status of the Google Drive, it allows us to keep things current. So when we have somebody who's asking to drop off or we get bounce back emails, we don't keep sending things out when we have this happen. So we're able to keep live rather than just having a document sitting in a folder. And Kate's done a great job of being able to keep that updated. And that transfers into how we send out our emails and announcements for newsletters, lunch and learns, networking events and such.
So this is the spreadsheet that we have when we receive information. So when people go onto the website and use DonorBox, they provide us with the most up-to-date information with their title, organization, address, contact pieces, which is what we use for emailing and for the website. And as you slide over here, you'll notice that we keep track of how much they paid, what type of payment it was, if they did an additional donation to cover that cost. I also like to mark when they paid, so that way we can kind of track when people are submitting their payments to the website, or if they've written a check, which has happened with some of our organizations as well. We also make sure that we have both their website link and an event link. If I wasn't provided with one, oftentimes I'll try and go to their website and either see their Facebook or Twitter, whichever one seems to be prominent on their page, so that they have a social media presence if they want that as their way of communicating events. And then over here, we keep track of what positions, boards, or committees they express interest in, and any additional notes. That way, when we're looking to reach out to folks for being able to speak or to be able to engage in specific areas that we're trying to capture that information that they said over here, like if they're interested in marketing, if they do want to become involved with the board, if they're more for networking, we want to capture all that information based on their feedback that they provide us. And we have that information going all the way back to at least 2021 that we've been doing it this way. So now this is our third year of capturing information in this way.
see, Kate, really interesting that there's nothing in the legislative column. What's that attributed to, do you think?
Sometimes when I think people fill out their DonorBox information, it's because I will get maybe just one individual response, or that they have, because we ask for the top 3 things that they're interested in participating in. And so it's not that they aren't interested in those areas, but their levels of involvement may be on a lower scale for legislative than, say, networking or needing to advocate or promote.
You know, a suggestion we might want to consider is public policy instead.
Mhm. I agree.
Yeah, because that's really what we want to look at, the regulatory structure, probably more so than what the legislature is doing.
Yeah, I like that suggestion, Chris, because I think if somebody would be looking at this, they're probably thinking, oh, you mean I have to get involved from a legislative standpoint? And that's really not what that's about.
And it can get you in trouble as a nonprofit too, so,
Sure.
yeah.
That's great feedback.
You said public policy? Was that the
Public
the
policy.
language? Okay,
Yep. That's what Lynn, you think so too, public policy?
100, yes, 100%, yes.
okay.
Would there be, I'm looking close here, anything with the wording, because we're an advocacy group, is there
Yeah, I was just,
anything
yeah, I
that
was
would
thinking
use
same
that
thing.
instead? Or,
Yeah, look over here, I guess, I would, Chris, historically, the organization, I think, was capturing some of this under advocate for local older adults, like some of that. I know it's not the same as public policy because you're on the board. I think you're gonna help us refine what we're able and looking to do. But historically, that's where we've gotten traction, is some individuals who see themselves not just as delivering or networking, but actually advocating for, and that I can see some interest there. And I think that we should not rule that out. I don't know. Do we want to merge that? Do we want?
I would, and here's why, because when I'm thinking of public policy, I would think a fair number of our people might be interested in hearing from, say, somebody from the Department of Health in their Office of Health Facilities complaints.
Mhm.
You know, how do you do this? What do and they've got all kinds of pockets. DHS is, or the ombudsman's office.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd love to help do a program on public policy where we bring in people from the agencies to tell us, what are you doing? What's the newest? What's the latest?
Well, does that fall, so I hear what you're saying, does that fall under education though, or are we thinking actually?
I don't, well, I see the educational link, but I think the other thing is it would be really good for public policy people to know that there's an organization like this out there looking at what their work is,
Or the
and
reciprocity of it, not just us getting information from them, but them getting information from us.
because they really do appreciate getting that input.
That's right.
So I'd keep it separate, but clearly there's overlap.
Yeah, I think you're right. I agree with the public policy, keeping it separate, but I'm just wanted you, if I was you, I'd be thinking, oh, I wonder what the history is. And historically, there definitely are individuals that have joined because they want, you can see that, because they want to have the opportunity to advocate for the trending going on with local older adults. So there is a little bit, maybe we need to inform though, maybe we need to sort of, I think there's gray area around what is legislative versus what is public policy. Like that's even helpful.
I think we do. We take it for granted that everybody understands that. And no, that's not the case. So it's,
And I guess to kind of lean into what you both are saying, it wouldn't hurt to point out that in terms of what we have listed for folks under our work, we haven't updated our policies or positions since 2019. So
Right.
this might be a good opportunity if we want to try and update the language or our focus. That would be a good project maybe for the board for 2023 to discuss.
I love that idea. Love it.
Yeah, I do definitely think there's been movement away from just specifically dementia friendly to age friendly. I mean, that's where the legislation has gone. That's where there's been committees.
Well, and now there's a trend away from age friendly. There's pushback from the senior community that, we're not interested in friendly. We want way more than just friendly. So
Ooh, well, this is interesting. Oh, I like this thought. So maybe we missed the whole age friendly window, but let's move to where they want us to be.
yeah, I think that's kind of the feedback. I do a lot of work with a group of various senior retired union people, either teachers or wherever anyway. And I just got a blistering from them when they, we don't give a rip about friendly. We want to have the services and we need affordable housing, we need transportation, they're looking way more broadly. So,
Nuts and bolts, don't make this sound good just for everybody to be more, I am with them. I love that.
well, in the age friendly sounds like little welcome wagons to them, and they want way more than that. And
It's
so-
something that a label like a city can say we are. It's not what we actually are doing. It's not the actual nuts and bolts of it. That is so
Yeah.
interesting. I love that feedback. That's interesting.
Okay.
So Chris, have you heard anything regarding what would be the alternate or the alternative to that description? Has there been some wording
Yeah.
that has been coming up?
And I'd like to have a speaker for our board meeting come and join us, and she strongly encourages aging in community.
Yeah,
And that's all inclusive. So it's not just long-term care, it's not just home care, it's everything that it takes to age in your community wherever you want to be,
right.
So
Kate, could you pull up that screen again?
Sure, and I sent a direct message to Katie and sent it to the group. I motioned for the board to create a committee to review and update the class policy statement for 2023.
and would you like me to invite Kathy to come and speak to the board about that? Or just let me
Well,
know.
Where's
As you
Kathy
see
from?
here, do you see that first icon? We actually are saying
Ah.
aging in the community.
Mhm. Oh,
We're
Yeah.
not throwing out there age-friendly communities,
Right.
although there is that wording in like the second line. So I think it's as simple as we can just take the word friendly out of there. I don't think there's anyone here that would disagree. It's only in there because we sat in on how many meetings about age-friendly communities, and we just
Yeah.
bought into how it was being described through
Yeah.
art.
I'll tell you legislatively, I'd appreciate well, no, I can say it. I mean, I'm surprised there are a lot of legislators vehemently against age friendly. And it's, I'm kind of I find that interesting. They're asking to be renewed, and that might happen, but I'll tell you, I forget where it's in one side, but not the other side right now. So it may not even pass. And even if it does, just to know, you just need to know that there are a lot of people not too friendly. And part of the problem is even AARP, one of their representatives told them back in August, the problem you have is you don't have a track record of accomplishment.
Right.
And that's pretty stinging.
Sure.
So anyway, just want you to just beware. That's all.
Well, I think changing the wording for class will be very easy to do because this is not something that we created. I mean, we created this, but the terminology is not something we created. So going with the flow for what is best for the future, I think is well taken.
And your transportation, affordable housing, what's the fourth one down there? Can you scroll up there, Kate?
Yep, sorry, mouse was on the different screen.
Dementia friendly. Yeah, we'd probably want to rethink dementia friendly. I like
That did become something more that class created too, wasn't it, Lynn?
Yeah, we were working closely with, we actually got funding specifically to do a certain number of dementia friendly when it was part of, like less, and I would agree that we should expand the scope, like you said, the service scope that.
And I like dementia, so don't take, I do, it's just that friendly word seems to be a hot button that gets people.
Yeah, dementia inclusive. I mean, there's definitely a lot of ways.
Dementia, I mean, even just dementia care, I think we recognize.
Well, that might be.
dementia education even. So I think let's realize that we do need to maybe get committee together as Kate's suggestion. And I don't think there's really need for a motion because we're a small group that's just going to try to put some things together. So Kate, what you said, you sent a direct message to whom?
I sent it to the group. I originally sent
Oh,
it to
okay.
Katie as a direct message and
Okay,
so, but
But if you want a second, I'm happy to second it.
well, why don't we just officially, Kate, go ahead and say that out loud.
oh gosh, hold on. I lost it because I'm sharing my screen. You guys need to go away for 2 seconds and my chat thing. I motion for the board to create a committee to review and update the class policy statement for 2023.
And I second.
All in favor?
Uh,
I,
Aye. Duly noted. Let's put that in the minutes for moving forward. And is there anyone on this team that would like to maybe charge a committee for that to just get things started? Chris, would that be you?
Yeah, I'd be happy to.
Thank you. And again, I think just for a review, we don't have to make this deep and complicated. We just want to just update any language that we think might need to change a little bit. So,
Could we get two more people who want to work with me and then we can bring it back? Lynn, yay, good.
okay. You know what I would like to suggest is when I'm already forgetting her name, Lynn.
Amy, no, not Amy. Like Sarah.
Sarah, when Sarah joins us
Yes.
from a trellis standpoint,
Mhm.
again, not a board position, but just a committee involvement, I would like to suggest maybe
That's a great
she could
suggestion.
help with some of that.
I like it.
that. She meets with all the providers. That's her job as, so she'll have a sense of I know she works closely with. It is interesting that this is shifting. I'm intrigued by this whole, especially knowing how much effort like ARP and the Ramsey County is putting into this. So it's, it'll behoove us to see where we're headed so we don't attach. I know we were on the peripheral of all that age-friendly Ramsey County. Really, we didn't dedicate a specific path. We're just staying pulse checking. So that'll be good.
Well,
Very
I've-
good.
Has
Also-
anybody else been attending the Ramsey County age-friendly meet? That makes me just wonder. Okay, yeah.
Lynn, I'll send you an email, and if you have Sarah's email, then let's figure
Yep.
out. Okay,
Yeah, I do. Sarah Adams. Yep.
okay,
Loop her in and connect.
perfect. Okay,
Let's move along here if there's nothing else regarding this subject for now.
good question. Did we have a goal, going back to our membership drive? Did we have a goal for the number that we wanted this year? I just don't remember hearing one, that's all.
We didn't have a specific goal, maybe to clarify or share the discussion that we were having, because I think we did struggle this year to go, oh, right, we need to have this drive because our board has stayed the same essentially for this past year. But what we were at least trying to aim for was meeting numbers from previous years. And one of the other pieces was making sure that we did this drive in a time frame that allowed us to capture and minimize the amount of payments that would go to my website development, so that it wouldn't create cost for class. So our goal was to at least try and cover those costs. And to give you numbers from previous years, which I can do in just a moment. 2022 saw us with a total of $998.88, and in 2021 our membership was $847.27. So
This is the largest we've been.
That's good. That's good. I just wasn't sure if we had a goal or not.
I'm glad you asked the question. I really was wondering how we would roll, and I've seen the interest starting to, I've seen so many new faces that membership should be picking up, because we had a couple years there where people weren't joining, they were just attending.
And it's a little hard to capture because, as we've shared before, Michelle Hubbard at White Bear Senior Program is was the former treasurer and has needed to step back from that role. So we don't have a steady, consistent treasurer available to really give us that full scope. So truly, if there's anyone that we know that could step into that role, I think it would also help us better define our financial planning and encouragement. And I think it's helped with the website to be able to say members get these certain benefits, you get the chance to be a speaker, trying to provide those little extra things that aren't a big stretch for class, but allows us to do more things. So I think that's why we've also been able to see some growth.
Can I ask a quick question before we move away from membership? If individuals want to join throughout the year, are we still maintaining that? Yes, you can join, but we're looking to just do annual renewals at, I mean, I want some context. I don't know what are we messaging for that?
As if we landed on anything specific other than to say, if up until, I think, what was the month that we used before, Kate? Was it August or September?
Right.
If you're joining before that, it's still a $25 membership. And anything, whatever that date was after that,
Like the last quarter, October, November, December, then does it get applied to next year? Is that what?
yes.
That's what I
Yes,
thought.
that's
It
what
may
we
be-
had talked about, but we had not had that situation come
Okay.
up, I don't think.
And it may be beneficial to have that as part of the policy statement discussion, having a better definition of our membership drive, because I think that's what's also made it difficult. We've kept things so fluid due to COVID that we need to really get back to having some parameters, because people like to at least know, when do I start, when do I finish, and how that looks for their budgetary year. So if we could have that as part of the board discussion at some point separate from this meeting and really hammer that out, I think it would be very helpful.
Okay, moving on here. John had a couple notes just regarding the Lunch and Learn update for April 12th. Chris and Adam Suamala, Minnesota Leadership Council on Aging, and John Slade from MICA will be presenting on the topic of elder advocacy / update on state legislative 2023 progress. Chris, anything really quickly that you want to add to that?
Yeah, a couple of things. We met and both Adam and I are gonna, and John will do legislative updates on the issues that we cover. And then John will talk about how do you advocate, how would you advocate, and just have an open discussion about this. So I'm going to be putting a PowerPoint together. I think Adam will as well, and I'm not sure what John's going to do. I'd like to raise a different issue, though, if I might, Scott. It's as a result of this. Does anybody know who or how is it that Adam was invited to be a part of this presentation?
I'm guessing it was John who was reaching out, because John is the one who is filling the 4 quarterly lunch and learns that we have.
Okay, here's, I'm gonna just be honest with you guys. Adam has been unprofessional. He describes Elder Voice as just a bunch of rich white ladies. And he also took it upon himself to call me 2 or 3 years ago to tell me that he really understood, the public affairs arena, and that the way Elder Voice and the way I was managing it, it really is not going to get anywhere, that we really need to be less vocal. We need to fall in line, kind of, so to speak, and not be such strong advocates. And I listened to him and told him, sorry, I disagree. And it bothers me to have an organization demean another, nonprofit, when you know, we should be welcoming everybody with their different approaches. Had I known he was going to be invited, I would not have accepted.
Is John aware of this, Chris?
He knows, no, I haven't talked because we just had that meeting and it was Adam, him and I, and John knows that there's some ill will there.
Okay.
So, but I haven't talked to him specifically. I had to think about it, to be honest. Did I want to make this an issue or not? And I mean, just a bunch of white rich ladies. Come on, that's.
How did
Do
he
you
seem when
sense
you-
that the lunch and learn could potentially have some information or presented in such a way as it's getting recorded that we go, whoops?
No, I don't think so. I don't. You know, I think I'm not demeaning his organization at all. I think they're very worthwhile and do a lot of good things. It just I just am not comfortable with him, and you know, I'm not the only one, but I'm not going to get into trying to slander him or anything like that. But it just I think for me, the real lesson is, you know, if we're going to pull these things together and bring in somebody outside of our ranks, we should talk to the people who's, you know, I would have preferred John come to me, and I'll talk to John about this, you know, and come to me and tell me, hey, you know, it's been suggested that we have, and let me have my chance to express my concerns, because I think there are other players who are far more in tune to the legislative activities than John is. So, or Adam, excuse me. So,
Are we too late on this to change it up then?
yeah,
Okay.
I would do that. And I'll do it. I'll do it, and I'm not gonna do anything. Yeah, I'll be ever so friendly, I guarantee you. But it's just, I think, and I'll talk to John. I just had to, and I talked to Kate a little bit on Friday about this, and thought about it over the weekend. I feel like I need to bring it to the board, and yeah.
And
Yeah,
Chris,
especially as a board member, you know, that you are, yes, so for you and John to have had that preliminary conversation, like you said, if there was anyone else that would have been a better fit, what that discussion could have looked like. So you're saying you didn't have any idea that there was going to be.
I didn't know at all, you know, and all of a sudden there he is, and it's kind of okay. Yeah.
Please
Can
reach
I-
out to John. Yeah. Oh, go ahead,
No.
Ellie.
Can I ask a question? Obviously, I mean, I guess this is my second year on the board. Who does Adam represent? I guess I've never heard his name before. Maybe I,
You have our agenda for today. It's listed in there.
oh, sorry,
But
I don't have it out.
Minnesota Leadership Council on Aging.
Gotcha. Okay.
and I feel like this brings up a point that sort of came up in one of our executive talks, but would be a good question for the board. Do we want speakers to be paid members as a benefit, or are we willing to bring in people outside of the organization to speak? I don't know that it's limited, but Chris, just bringing up your point, if we knew that people were members, we're having conversations with people who are engaged in the group and will continue to advocate for class. I'm just going to ask it. I don't have a specific opinion either way.
I would definitely want to be inclusive outside of our membership ranks. For one thing, it gives us an opportunity to educate others about the work of class. And I also like your idea of giving board members, but we get that opportunity, you know, so
Yeah,
I think
could
I
tell
would-
we had a membership base that was large enough. There are so many lunch and learn topics that we may not have available speakers just within our circle of influence here as members. So reaching outside of that, but maybe going into the direction that Kate, I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but is this the kind of thing that, since we're working on only 4 of these a year, that we should talk about this at a board meeting to be able to say, this is what we're considering and this is who we're looking to bring in?
Yeah.
What does the board think? And then we move forward with that planning. The only unfortunate thing with that is it's been difficult to get speakers to come. And so we've been working more tightly. And sometimes we don't always have that opportunity to have a board presentation about the next event.
What about at least board notification? Because I mean, Chris, speak to this. If we, here's who we're thinking, if there's anyone on the board that has contacts that they could lend to this decision or this particular offering, that I do think that we need some level of, for this exact reason that just happened, like that we're in right now. I mean, obviously Chris is saying she can rise to the occasion, but the reality is there's a context that we will want to consider, that we will want, that's the point of the board, that we lean on each other for context, and we wouldn't want to be caught off guard if we already know something. Obviously, these things can happen even if we know something. But
Right.
if we would finesse it, and then even the ask becomes something more specific, so that however that's navigated, it's with that knowledge. And that's, I think what I hear you saying is, Chris, if you can talk to John ahead of time and just make sure that you've got, John's pretty good at playing mediary. And so if you need him to be in that same space with you to have that context would be ideal. I think even as a board, for us to know that the two of you have already talked gives us a sense of comfort, so that if anything does if there's any residuals, we already are all on the same page together.
I'll talk to John and do that. I was thinking he would be here, but
Yes.
But yeah, anyway, there won't be a problem for the presentation. Adam will do his thing, I'll do my thing, and John his, and then have a discussion. I did email John. I asked if I could be put on first because I have another conflict that I might have to beg off early from, but I haven't heard back. So, okay.
Okay. Well, let's keep moving along here, but thank you, Chris, for bringing that to our attention. I think it's important to know. The last bullet point for John was the Leadership Council on Aging has free training available that was sent out on the Lunch and Learn announcements. We encourage everyone to take advantage of those training opportunities. Moving ahead, again, we'll mention as we do every meeting. Now, I know, Kate, you and Katie have kind of done a little not switching, but a transitioning to secretary. So Kate still being on the board, we're just going to announce that Kate is also a contractor for class, and we recognize that there could be conflict of interest, and we make certain that it's noted in every board meeting that anything having to do financially with class that takes a vote, Kate will abstain from that vote.
That works.
On for our treasurer report, since we don't have a treasurer, what was noted here is we did have that membership drive that Kate talked about earlier of $1,101.42. And then we've also submitted our grant proposal for $2,000 back on February 28th for the Vadnais Heights grant. And I don't know when they announced that, but everybody crossing fingers and toes, please. Can you show me the toes, please? I'll believe you. I'll believe you if you tell me. The other thing I wanted to mention is I did reach out to Michelle, and she did state and send back to me via email that we have a current balance in the class account of $1,469.31. So she's at least, I don't mean at least, she's been gracious enough in no longer representing classes official treasurer. She has been gracious enough to help through with making payments and things requested with bank issues here or situations. She's been able to help with this.
That I'm adding some brief notes to our agenda. Can you say that balance again and I'll put it in here?
Sure. $1,469.31. $69.31. Current balance as of today.
Great.
Thank you. So that said, we'll turn the next part over to our secretary, Katie.
Okay, so Katie, I'll start it so that way you can tap it to tap notes and then hand over to you. But we decided to launch something completely new recently. You may have noticed that the Lunch and Learn email went out in a different format. We are using MailChimp. We're using the free version for outgoing newsletters. And we decided to create a template that would be able to be used by the board to send notifications about upcoming events and allow people to link back to our webpage to specific areas. So that way people will be able to more easily get their information and give us less of a headache on the back end of making our information go out the way we want it to look. Katie, do you want to comment to the MailChimpness?
Yeah, it was, I mean, as wonderful as Google usually is, just like the formatting and things, we're not putting our best foot forward there, and MailChimp is free. So there are a couple of different like capabilities. So MailChimp, the free version, we can't schedule stuff. So there are still some emails that I just have scheduled to go out of Gmail that are really simple ones. And that, so the like 8 a.m. on a networking morning, those go out on time and I don't have to remember to do them early. But some of the prettier emails, we can send right through MailChimp and they look the way we expect them to. So.
And we've also, Katie and I have been talking about keeping a class calendar, and this is in the executive team email account. And I think we also shared it with the general board email. So everybody does have access. If for some reason you're trying to access the accounts and can't, like it says it has a security password, myself or Scott or John are able to help with some of those pieces. But as you need access to the information, we've also sent emails and links to the board so that way you are aware of upcoming meetings and it hits your calendar. So this is all very much a beta testing effort that we keep trying. We did the Google Gmails for everything. We realized that we wanted something a little bit more streamlined for the newsletters. And so we're trying MailChimp. If there are other things that we see that would be beneficial for communication or for managing our data or our files, all of that is something that I think that the board is very willing to lean into and give a try.
Excellent. You know, and I just want to publicly state here that both Kate and Katie have been so instrumental in bringing us up to speed and having our website look fantastic, getting a look for our newsletter, the information that goes out, the links that we have, the dates. I hear nothing but positives about that, and class would not be where it is today without the two of you. So I just like to thank you both for that effort. It's fantastic.
I agree. And I've worked directly with Kate and she did a lot of our design, all of our design work on Elder Voice, and I get nothing but good remarks. We got a rock star. You too, Katie.
We do. I love it. All right, well, we've talked a little bit about some of the old business, just kind of bits and pieces here, but basically I'm going to just state that our last few Lunch and Learn and networking events, I believe, have been a great success, namely because we have had new people that have been attending them, and some of those new faces have become members who hadn't been members previous to that. So getting new faces on some of these events is wonderful. And I'd also like to know, when we take a look at these membership drives, when we don't get people who are re-upping for the next year, some of that is due to they've left the industry or left the companies that they've been at and gone on to something different with no forwarding email. So we don't have a way to connect with them. So I don't know as if it's anything that we're chasing them away nearly. In fact, I don't think we are chasing them away. I think just what's been happening due to COVID and economic situations, things change.
Yeah, I would also add that there's been a lot of turnover in the industry, so even if we have emails going to former members, whoever's in their position now, would be who we'd want to connect with, not necessarily, that there isn't someone at that place. So I know historically when I was part of senior workers, that was more the angle we took, like, okay, well, we know there was someone from the Waters, who's the new person from the Waters.
Which-
Yeah.
Lynn, to kind of piggyback on that really quick, if anyone has a connection at the Northeast Youth and Family Services, Karan, I think it's McSween Singular, I think that's her name. Her email bounced back to us.
Yeah.
I did see a membership come through, so if we wanted to make sure that we're reconnecting with them, the emails aren't going through. And we also lost Laura McDermott along the way with the Ramsey County Library, and none of us on the executive team had connections with her. So if that's somebody that we wanted to try and reconnect with as well, the two names, Karan McSween Singular with Northeast Youth and Family Services, and Laura McDermott with Ramsey County Library, would be two people that we could try and reconnect with or find out who's kind of stepped into their roles if we wanted to reconnect with them.
There is I work with Carly Sanft, I think is her last name, at Ramsey County Libraries. She comes to a bunch of my event stuff. If we wanted someone from the library tuned in, I could talk to her.
Yeah, I'm wondering if Laura, because that's odd, that I'm wondering if because she was housed at the Maplewood branch and they're shut down right now. So I just wonder if it's more of a technical thing, because she was the one that re-engaged with us last year, saying she wanted to get more involved. So if you could actually ask your person, Katie, because they all know each other. If
Yeah.
there's a new email or a new way to get a hold of Laura, or if there's a new person, because Laura's role was specifically around elder. She's involved as Maplewood.
Sure.
As Maplewood remodels, they were trying to pick her brain for how do we reach the elder demographic for redesign and all that. So that's pretty hot topic right now. I can reach out. I will commit to reaching out to Northeast Youth and Family Services. I know the former person did leave. I do believe they did not hire a specific aging person, but I will investigate that a little bit more. I think they put their chore program on hold. I think some things went on hold as the new director came in and Tara left. So I will take on that one. I had a question about Bob Morse. Katie had a great idea, Bob in the banking field. Do we know if Bob's a current member? I know he came to the event. Okay, super. He's a current member.
Yes.
Does anybody feel like we could ask him to pinch hit as a treasurer? What does that sit for?
It's worth the ask.
I know, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Probably the simplest math he does all day.
Right? I mean, we're not
Me-
talking big.
Probably the easiest math he does all day. Yeah.
Well, it would
yeah.
elevate him to
Simple.
on the active on the board, if that's what it sounded like you wanted to get re-engaged.
Sure.
Is there any of us?
Yeah,
Katie, is that?
I
a
will
plan?
I will reach out to him.
Okay, super. Awesome. Welcome, Sarah.
I was just gonna say, hi, Sarah.
Hi,
Well,
everybody.
officially, since we're recording, Sarah here, I'm gonna just officially announce welcoming you to our community liaison on behalf of Trellis with Diane Graff. And so we have Sarah Adams today joining us. And we're just kind of going through our agenda. I don't know if you had that link that was sent out following along with the board agenda today, but we're moving along. So thank you for joining in.
Thanks for having me.
Once this gets recorded, if you want to go back and see the first half of it at your leisure, feel free to do that. Okay, moving on. I think just for the sake of time here, it was how was your spring season personally and professionally? Anyone, is there anything that you want to quick bring up, or should we move on?
Can I
Spring
bring?
is-
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say,
Go ahead.
is spring really here?
I just want to bring up one thing, and I'm just so excited about it. I just have to share, and we just talked about it this morning. That's with our elder care IQ. And those of you who know kind of what the tool is, it'll take you to investigations that the Department of Health does. And I know, Lynn, you particularly probably, and Sarah probably has too, read some of those investigation reports and know how difficult they are to navigate and understand what they're talking about. We're just starting to add a new feature that uses Chat GPT. And it summarizes the investigation, and we're still looking at it, but it's looking like it does an awesome job of capturing the essence of what's in the investigation. That's going to be enormously helpful to people to really understand. So if anybody has any immediate reaction like, oh my God, don't do that, please tell me. Anyway, just I'm sorry, I get excited about these.
No, that is exciting. I'm thrilled. Keep the conversation going, because you're right. I don't have a techie brain, but if anybody else has an opinion about, that's great.
I think it's great. Yeah, good. Okay, where are we left here? Oh, moving on. We, as in John and I, are going to be pursuing a donation from Alina, as they have some community funds that they've talked about. Don't know what that means or how much, but we're looking to say, hey, if we could get 1,000, 1,500, again, it would not be a grant. It's part of what they do for donations out there. They love what class is all about. And so we're going to pursue through an application process and see what we can come up with.
That reminds me too, we're one thing that we're thinking about too is sponsorships. I wonder if we could get some area businesses or whatever to, for a fee, be a sponsor, and then you have their logo included. It's worth, I don't know if you are interested. I just put that out there.
Real quickly, if that was the case, it would probably have to be a front and center on our website, not embedded into a members page. What are your thoughts? Would there even be room for that?
What does Kate think?
Pulling up the website to kind of get a feel of what that could look like. My thought would be, if we were to do something, would it make sense? You know how we have on the sliding carousel where it has the class e-newsletter, it has our join our networking meetings. Could we have something in that spot where it specifically just is part of that carousel where we're sharing their information or as their members? Maybe I could create like a collage of thanks to these people, class is supported by these organizations or something, so that way it's part of the rotation, but it doesn't sit so long that it takes away from our members at the same time.
What's the rotation quantity right now?
We currently have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it's currently 10 items because it's talking through education and events, become a member, contact us. Here are upcoming events, meet our members, etc. So it's another way of like, these are all the things that class does.
So we have room for 10 every other snippets in there at 1,000 a piece. Well, there's our budget, right? Just kidding. I like the idea. Worth talking about further.
Maybe we can have different levels, like my organization, they wouldn't be able to do $1,000, but a lower level, the silver, bronze, whatever they are. I don't know.
I would think, this is just kind of speaking off the top of my head quickly, the most that we would probably find as an organization is if we had $100 to $200 or $200 to $300, that type of thing.
Yeah. And that might be worth it.
Every little bit helps. Most definitely. Good. Kate, I'm actually going to ask you for this next topic here for our calendar, since you talked with Taylor specifically.
Yes, so Taylor Johnson at Mueller Memorial we talked during one of the networking breakout sessions because people have expressed interest in how can we possibly get back in person, but also some people are not able to attend because it would be too far of a drive. Taylor was willing to have a conversation with our group about speaking at one of our networking meetings or hosting one of the lunch and learns possibly later in the year at Mueller Memorial where people could come in. It's another topic that is very pertinent to the population that we serve, which is end of life, death, the very taboo topic. And so they have a beautiful area that as long as they can get us on the calendar, they can block out that time so we wouldn't be, yucking it up on one side while someone else is mourning the death of a loved one on the other side of the wall. But I believe that they also have the equipment necessary if you wanted to do a hybrid. Again, these are all things that we can kind of discuss, but Taylor was open and very interested in being able to host a class event. So that was something that I wanted to be able to share. And Katie, I'm going to also segue to you about July, because that's also a very exciting hybrid in-person event that we'll be able to offer.
Yeah, so I have the outdoor space at the Commons reserved for us for the morning of the 12th, and we can, it sounded like as much as people want to be in person, people would be most comfortable doing that outside. So as long as we can be outside, we can do that at the Commons. We can, I mean, as that gets closer, decide what we want that to look like. If we want tables and chairs set out, we have like the high top tables people could stand around or kind of set that up however we need to out there. If
Ice
we
cream.
wanted, sure. 8 a.m. ice cream sounds good to me. Yeah, if we wanted to do refreshments or whatever, I have there are coffee pots there if we wanted to make coffee, or if it's just as easy to just get the caribou things, whatever we want to do. If we want to have refreshments, or some places are just kind of foregoing that too, but
Cup and Cone is right down the street. Let's bring them in.
Love it.
And
Good,
maybe,
I like
and
that.
maybe if our budget allows, maybe we could have a little something. Just because we haven't spent any money on any snacks or foods at events because we've been doing it virtually. Maybe just like a little something for breakfast.
Good thoughts.
Yeah.
As we get closer here, we'll put another committee together to plan that, Katie.
Yeah, and I was my thought on that one is that the like hybrid in-person events where there are people watching online, the people who are watching online are like really not getting much out of that. So I was intending to have the July one be in person, and our apologies to anyone who can't make it. And then if we know ahead of time that the weather is going to be bad, we can just move it to virtual so people don't have to decide if they want to come inside or not. So
If they are online and not attending and they see that we're eating ice cream, now there's a little fear of loss here. Yeah.
True.
All right. For May 10th, at this point, we do not have a speaker just yet, so I'm going to continue to work on that. I've got a month to go here. So that is our next networking meeting. As you can see below, the dates for 2023, anyone who's viewing this can go online to see our networking events, our class board meeting dates, and our class lunch and learn dates are all listed there throughout the end of the year. And I believe if there's anything else that I may have missed, does anyone have any input as to information that needs to be added to today's meeting?
I will get the today is e-newsletter day, so I will get that sent out. Is there anyone here who has any events that they did not put through the jot form that they would like included? Anything coming up in April or like really early May?
The quad has their senior expo.
I think we
I
have
don't
that
know
one
if
in there. Let me double check.
Okay, it's not till May 18th, I think, but I just wasn't sure.
Yeah, I think we got it. I don't see it in here right now, actually. I thought that we did.
I can quick send it to you, email you the info.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay.
Excellent, thank you. And I think maybe just to wind things up here, I'd love to turn it over to Sarah. I'm probably putting you on the spot a little bit, Sarah, but I think as a board, we'd love to hear maybe a little bit more about you. I know Lynn refreshed my memory that you joined as a member just prior to COVID. And that escaped my memory, and that's
She
showing
was
my
on, actually,
age
she
here.
was on the board. Scott, she was on the
Oh,
board.
it's on the, yeah, well, see, I wasn't acting as
No,
president
you
quite
weren't.
yet,
You
and
weren't. Yeah,
that all got thrown at me after the fact, or
Yeah.
afterwards, so,
Yeah. that's right.
welcome, Sarah, but, take a few minutes just to talk a little bit about your involvement with Trellis, and perhaps anything you could add that we as a board should be looking for, calling on Trellis to help class with.
Sure. Well, so my name is Sarah Adams. I'm an Elder Care Development Partnership Coordinator at Trellis. It's a newer role for me. This past year, I was actually doing Older Americans Act grant management, but have now moved into this position, which is really about, working with community partners around capacity building for aging in the metro. And that can include technical assistance around grant applications. It can include, talking through new ideas and figuring out how to carry it out. And, discussing challenges like workforce shortages or, volunteer-based changes, which I know has been a big deal over the past number of years. My background is as a social worker. I've been in aging for about 10 years and did elderly waiver case management, supervised a team for waiver case management, and then I moved into a role supporting caregivers, and I was out at Family Means for a number of years. I also did grant writing while I was there, and then, like I said, moved to Trellis just a little over a year ago, and did grant management, and now I'm in my new role. So I'm excited to support you all and to hear what you're up to. And like you all said, I was briefly on the board before COVID hit and upended many, many plans. And so I'm so excited to be connected with you all again.
That's great, thanks, and I appreciate you coming in after your meeting today. It's probably made your day busy, right?
This is good.
Yeah, good.
Can we
Well,
tap-
as we're ready to close out, anything else?
A question for Sarah? Can we tap
Yes.
into your grant writing expertise?
Yeah, that's a part of my role. So I can't write the grants for you, but I absolutely can review them and do the brainstorming around it. So yes, please connect with me.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I don't know if you saw, but Chris had thrown out, we were already thinking of you earlier in the meeting, knowing you were gonna be. We're reviewing parts, we haven't looked at our website with the context of sort of the future versus it was just sort of in a holding pattern. So Chris is gonna gather a few of us together off the board and liaisons, and we thought of you and myself. So Chris will be reaching out to us to see if we can set some time up to do that if you're available.
That sounds great. Yeah, thank you.
You'll get the email this afternoon.
Perfect.
Super. Well, the other thing I'd say Diane did, just to give you some context, which I'm sure she told you, if there was anything from a Trellis perspective that we would want to bring back to our respective community, like here's the new deadlines for the new whatever grants, or she just sort of real time fed it to us, even though some of us may in our other, day job / respective organizations know that. It's a nice space for all of us to be hearing it collectively, to understand also what is out there, what's available, what we need to consider, so that if there's opportunities in the future, we can understand funding cycles and what these area agency monies potentially could be supporting going forward. There's always new things that are coming up, so she would always let us know sort of what that is or could be, so that we can stay relevant.
Mhm.
unrelated specifically to a class grant, but, you know, understanding the lay of the land for the people we serve and capacity. So,
Right. Yeah, I'm
Good.
happy to do that. And speaking of, this week marks the end of the week or marks the end of the period that the Live Well at Home grants are going to be open. But MBA dementia grants are open at this time still, and those will be wrapping up in May. So just spread the word about that for sure.
okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. Well, last, going once, going twice. We will say our goodbyes and thank you everyone for attending the class board meeting for April 2023. Okay, we'll get things recorded and loaded to the website. Great to see everybody. Stay healthy and get out and enjoy some warm weather.
We're gonna see everybody in June. Is that what we're thinking? All right.
July. Is it
July.
July?
For our board meeting,
Oh,
Well,
yes.
we certainly could.
is there a June 5th board meeting? I'm just asking because I had that down.
June 5th is our next board meeting, so for anyone who maybe wants to take their laptops outdoors. It won't hopefully have snow still by that time.
Oh my
Exactly.
gosh.
Exactly.
Thank
All right,
you.
good.
Super.
Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.